Hello, and welcome to Using Linked Lists. In the Using the Linked List data structure to create a registry video, we will look at the linked list data structure graphically and in code. I will show you how to create and manipulate linked lists. We will also look at doubly linked lists. Linked lists consist of nodes that are linked from left to right. These lists can be sorted or unsorted. The first node is referred to as the head. And as you can see in the purple box in the lower right corner of your screen, we can create nodes using a node class. When we give a node attribute named next, it can be used to point to the next node to the right. We can also use the dot notation, such as head.next.next, to get to the third node, and the dot name reference to get to a specific name attribute of a node. Let's look at this in code. I'm going to open the linked list demo. Start at the very top. Here I'm creating a linked list with 4 nodes, calling the linked list student list, and then we're referencing an append list method, which I'll show you in a moment. And you can see we're passing in a string. So this is a student list registry of sorts consisting of their first name. And this is what's going to result. These 4 students in that specific order. I'm going to skip down to the code here. Here we have a constructor node where we have 2 instance variables, class variables, right? We have the next type node in name of type string, and here we're just setting the name to the name. Here's our linked list class. We're establishing head as the very first node, and here's that append list method that I spoke of. So if the head is null, then the node being created is the head. So we'll take care of that with this line of code and then return. If not, this is a second or subsequent node. We'll just traverse through until we see that the next component of the current node equals null. When it does equal null, then we know that we've reached the end, and then we're setting the next for that last node to the new node. Okay, we're going to scroll back up. Okay, here we're going to determine who is 2 seats away from the head. I'm printing the head next name, and then the string sits 2 seats to the right of, and then the head. So we'll see what that output looks like here. I'm going to right click and run it. So it says Pat sits 2 seats to the right of Sebastian. We see here that that's correct. And it was very quick. Okay, so let's take this example a little bit further. I'm going to look at the second linked list demo. We're doing the same thing. We're appending the list. I changed the names just so they're all the same number of characters for better display. In fact, let me clear the display. We're going to start by printing all the nodes. It's just a simple loop through, and we're printing the name and then a tab. Now we're going to delete a specific node. Here we're saying delete based on value, and we're passing in the parameter repeat. So let's go look at how that works. So here's the delete based on value, and it accepts a string name. So if the header is null, we're just going to return. It means that we have an empty linked list. If the head name equals the name, then we'll set it to next, we'll return. And if not, we'll cycle through until we find a match using the dot equals method, and then we'll get rid of it. So we also have this prepend method, which is short. It says if we wanted to add a node to the very beginning of the list. So we have a new head node, and then we select the new head node next to head, and then we assign head to what was passed in. So let's see how all this works. Here we have create the nodes. We print all of them saying originals. We're going to attempt to delete Pete. Then we're going to print the nodes again on another row. We're going to say without Pete. And then we're going to prepend a node adding Pete to the beginning of the list. And once again, print the entire list. So we should see 3 lists printed. And let's test our output. So here are the originals: Noah, Lucy, Pete, and Kyle. Then we took Pete out, so we have Noah, Lucy. We skipped Pete, and then we have Kyle. And then we prepended Pete, so we see him at the very beginning, followed by Noah, Lucy, and Kyle. And it did not take that long at all. There's also something called a doubly linked list. The only difference is that we can also link the nodes from left to right and right to left. So the arrows go both ways, and all we need to do is add this attribute for previous. And when we use that, references from the right to the left, which is the opposite from next, which goes from left to right.